Audio test. Testing, testing. Hopefully everything is stereo. Stereo sound. Great. Great, great, great. Okay. I can make it louder. How is that? Large reason I don't want to make it too loud is because it'll pick up all of the background sound. But is this better? I'm also going to speak louder, of course. Interesting. How about now? Sound far away. Shit. Hello, hello, hello. How about now? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm good. I think it might actually be clipping a little bit. Okay. Good to know, good to know. I think I can make it a little bit louder. Hello? Hi, 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 hi. Good evening, everybody. I guess we'll give it a few minutes and see. Give it a few minutes and see who shows up. I'll do a quick intro. My name's Nick from PreciousPlastic NYC. This is our studio in the background. Hi, Robrick. Hopefully the audio is better this time around. At least it's not mono. Hello, Tiffany from NYC. So before I start getting going, I'll give it a few minutes. I think we're definitely up and running much better than previous times. Hey. Okay. If there's any audio problems, do let me know in the chat. In the meantime, I will include a couple links. I'll throw a link to our Discord in case anybody feels like calling in this evening. Can come into the Discord channel. How is everyone doing? It is hot out here in New York right now. I don't know if you can hear the highway behind me. Not much I can do about that. Have to keep the windows open. Yeah. So let's see, I think we'll start at like 8:05. Yeah. It's almost time to put the AC in. I'm holding off, you know. I always try to hold off as long as possible. Alright, let's test this. Got a full screen. Audio still works. Excellent. My Coca-Cola addiction is strong. So, good news that I found out that I heard back from ChangeX is that they do accept fiscal sponsorship. I'll go into some more details about that later, but it is a fantastic way to actually get this funding. What they explained is that they will release the funding to the nonprofit, so you have to have some kind of agreement with them. I imagine that that's how it normally works, that there's a contract set up and they're vouching for you after vetting you, and yeah, and then you have a contract set up where they release the money to you after taking their small percentage for sharing their nonprofit status with you. One that I've heard that has been told to me is Fractured Atlas. I haven't done that much due diligence on it, but it seems like a very legit website and is used by a lot of artists, so that might be a good avenue. All right, so I'll just get going. My name is Nick from PreciousPlastic NYC. Here to share this ChangeX opportunity with you. We're going to be helping groups set up in the US and Canada. Right now, the opportunity is open till May 31st, but since that's only a couple weeks away, I'm really hoping that we can extend the deadline. The fund's only been open for a month, so I think it takes a bit of time for people to kick up these proposals up the chain. So I've been speaking with ChangeX, hoping that, you know, if we don't get enough applicants, that we can extend the deadlines. Also, it is available in New York and California at this point. We've had a lot of interest from other states, from great people in the precious plastic community, so I also spoke with ChangeX about that, and depending on how many applicants we have, those parameters might also open. But in the meantime, we're targeting California and New York. So if anybody is in either of those, and of course all of Canada, hopefully some people are tuning in from Canada. If you're in one of those areas, I encourage you to start the application as soon as possible. Tonight what I'm going to do is just kind of go over what ChangeX has set up here. There's a 5-step guide. We'll go through all of this because this is essentially everything you need to know to get going on your own. Of course, every group that starts out will have people like us. In different parts of the world there's other teams, but we are the team in North America that will be helping you throughout the whole process. Basically, ChangeX has hired us to assist you through setup and creating your community connection and all of that. So you're not alone. We've been at this for 5-6 years now, so I've kind of gone through all the ups and downs, all the troubleshooting and everything, so we kind of know what to expect. So hopefully it will be a great asset for you. So yeah, let's get started here. So hopefully people tuned in have a basic idea of our plastic problem in the world, that less than 10% of plastic that's generated is actually recycled. In fact, it's only like 15% or something that gets collected. It's some really tragic numbers. I don't think there's a lot of systems set up to handle different types of plastic as well, so we're just really trying to create an alternative system to handle the amount of waste that's coming out. So besides that, PreciousPlastic in itself is an open source community. It started years ago with basically a couple machinists building out their own DIY machines to process plastic. Since then, it's grown into a worldwide community. There's multiple Discord channels with people sharing all sorts of ideas, and lots of brilliant people actually taking what PreciousPlastic set up and pushing it much further. So in joining this community, you join a ton of people who have a lot of knowledge to share with you. Okay. Yeah, that's the solution. Network of people who work together to tackle the plastic pollution on a daily basis. So we'll get into all the details of that, and then after I go through the 5-step guide, we'll actually go through the application process. And then anybody that's tuning in, if they have any questions about the application, feel free to chat or call in. I linked the Discord, so you could always come in on voice or even video if you'd like to say hi. So we'll do the application process afterwards. For now, we'll just work through this overview. So this is overview. I got the 5 steps: learn, immerse, imagine, source, secure, setup, collecting and cleaning, shredding, molding, creating, and we're going to get into details on all of this. So first thing first, you've been successful in accessing ChangeX funding to start your own PreciousPlastic workspace. Congrats. Here are learn about PreciousPlastic. Here's some great links. I will actually go over some of them because it's a really great resource here. There's this academy for one that really goes over everything from start to finish, you know, like the basics of plastic, safety and fumes, so you'll learn about molding temps, so you make sure you're not burning any plastic. I don't want to spend too much time watching these videos because they're accessible to everybody. And now here's the basic setup, also great videos explaining everything. When you do get accepted for the funding, you will right away have a call with us, and we'll talk about what your needs are, what you're trying to do, how much space you have, and we'll figure out exactly what machines you can fit in your space and what makes sense for you. You know, I mean, if you're not going to be making sheets, maybe you don't need a sheet press, but if it's something that you're into, maybe have carpentry courses or something like that where creating plastic lumber would be a good idea, then a sheet press would be great, an extruder would be great because you can make beams. So here we have, this is a basic shredder, this is an injection machine, this is a extruder, and that's an oven to do sheets. So it goes over the collection processes. There's also an amazing map here that, what if you want to make a new machine? Like, would you like to be a fabricator, or are you thinking to make a machine using this funding? because if you want to become a machine fabricator, then the bazaar is a fantastic place. Like, if we have groups that using the funding, okay, yeah, that is an option. We have discussed it with ChangeX. They actually came to us at first talking about building machinery, and what we kind of steered people, we kind of steered the group and mostly are steering people in the direction of buying machines, because unless you have the knowledge and know how to really calibrate things, I mean, everything has to really be perfectly lined up. You might get bogged down just in the machine making for like 6 months, a year. That is something that happened to us at the beginning. My partner decided to, and it's a fantastic project because you really learn everything in and out, but he decided to build his own shredder machine, and what's great is it's fantastic experience understanding how everything really needs to be lined up to a millimeter. So there was a lot of, oh, well, yeah, if you're a mechanical engineer and you have all the tools, like machine cutting, metal cutting tools and all of that, then yes, that is an option for you. The reason why we've been going with the like sourcing machines is because we've been expecting quite a few of the groups to be like educational schools, and without anybody really being able to do anything like that, like just not having the skill sets. So if you do have the skill sets, that might be a great way to go about it. I mean, especially if you would be documenting the process, because that would really create another resource for other people. Yes. Awesome. I'm good with designing rubrics, so it's fantastic. Um, yeah, so I think we spoke last time. You're upstate. So I wanted to confirm with you that the fiscal sponsorship is available. So if you have a 501c3 nonprofit that you're in touch with, that likes what you're likes this proposal and would want to sponsor you doing this, then that is possible. But like I was saying, I'm new to the fiscal sponsorship, so I'm also just doing my due diligence on it. But from what I understand, the money then from ChangeX would go directly to the sponsoring nonprofit, and then the sponsoring nonprofit would give the money to you. So I think that is standard practice, though. But yeah, if you're good at designing, then what's incredible is here you have all of the technical information and all sorts of downloads, so that you can actually yeah, from the electronics, yeah, how to build different parts. We haven't built our own machines except for the first shredder, because we had such a hard time with doing the build, because we're not actually engineers. After that one experience, we decided to just start buying machinery, because there are some great machine makers in the US as well. I mean, I'll show some of the machines in a bit. Not sure if the downloads are here. Oh, there's a 3D model. Yeah, there's a... Okay, here we go. There is a ton of information here in the build, in the community, if that's something that you're willing to take on. Yes, the first injection and extruder we built. Actually, my partner built an incredible injector, because it's pneumatic and dual action. It's really fantastic, actually. And then we have our first extruder that's over there in the corner. But since then, we've actually bought an Extruder Pro, which is a beast of a machine, I have to say. The shopping cart extruder is dope. Yeah. It's our first machine. I don't know if I should move the... I'll take a little tour a bit later. Don't want to mess everything up too much. But yes, Gary in chat, Gary Dusak in chat is my partner, and he's doxing himself, but that's okay. I don't think we have a malicious audience that's trying to sabotage anything that we're doing, so it's no problem. So Gary's my partner. He's in chat while I'm going over these things. If I miss anything, feel free to chat with him. He'll field some of your questions. It's kind of just doing some moderator duties for me, which is fantastic. Because I am new to this and still learning getting my bearings streaming, so there's moments where I get a little overwhelmed with the amount of screens and prompts and stuff that's happening, so it's fantastic to have a second set of eyes. So yes, so here you click on the community, and that's where it brings you up to the academy. Then there's the bazaar, which is fantastic because this is basically where you can source machines, you can source molds, you can even source shredded plastic or fabricated beams so that you can build your own products. So you can be on the bazaar in both directions, right? You can be a buyer of molds or materials, but you can also be a seller, supplier for other people. So it's a fantastic community, and honestly, there's a ton of stuff here. Let's look at some products, for example. To give you a basic idea of the things that you could create, so you see something like this. This is definitely pressed. Most of these smaller objects are injection molding. But there's pages upon pages of products that you can check out, see what the good people are doing. Lots of beautiful stuff, lots of great ideas. But of course, what's amazing is you can design your own molds. I mean, this is a great way to start, but if you have any experience or know anybody, or are just artistic in yourself, and you can like mock up some drawings and have some graphic designer, I don't know, someone that works with CAD or whatever, be able to mock up a 3D model of a mold of something that you'd like to produce, then you can go to a mold maker and they will do a custom job for you. So basically the world is your oyster here. I'm not sure how much I want to go into this, but these are very sexy machines here. Within the budget of $20,000, or Canadian, I think it's 25 or 26,000, something like that, you will actually be able to acquire the whole set. So a shredder, an injector, a sheet press, and an extruder. We could go over some of the molds as well, the different types of molds. Because there's a difference between injector molds and extruder molds. Injector molds are usually for small objects. Extruder molds are for larger objects like beams or bricks, things of that sort. More building materials, essentially. Things that you need a larger amount of plastic. Because basically the main issue with the injection is that it's a tube that's heated, and it heats the material. So essentially, whatever the volume of that tube is the max that you can shoot in one take. So based on what the volume will be, you'll really have to ensure that your molds don't have larger capacity, because then you'll just have bad shots. There's a name for that. I don't know if Gary is chiming in. Failed shots, right? where you'll open up the mold and you'll see it'll be cool, but then like half of it's actually still empty, and it's just because there's not enough material in the injector. So that's when you move to extrusion, because essentially you don't have capacity. I mean, there are other things that you have to watch out for, meaning like if the product's too big, the plastic will start to cool. So it's, yes, failed shots, exactly. So yeah, so it depends on basically the shapes of different molds that you're going to be extruding into. Certain shapes won't fill properly. But the idea is that you have essentially unlimited capacity, except for the limitation of the plastic cooling very quickly. Anyways, I'm spending a lot of time on this. Just to reiterate, when you do go through your application process, we will go through all of this in detail with you. Our first call will be just to assess what you'd like to do, how large your space is, how much machinery you can fit in, like what your goals are. And then once we know your goals, we'll be able to customize your whole workshop with you. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, especially since all of this information is here for you. I just wanted to show you that. Excuse the highway in the background. Just wanted to show everyone that all of this information is available on the ChangeX site where you make your application, and there's a ton of links that direct you to PreciousPlastic headquarters. Yes, the basics of plastics. It is very important. I think we'll go into this a little bit more, but it's very important for everybody that wants to get into this to learn about the different types of plastics, because some are actually more toxic than others, some are fantastic and easy to work with, and most importantly, the different types of plastic have different molding temperatures. So we're not talking about melting temp. Molding temps is when it gets soft enough so that you can inject it into a new product, but it's not hot enough where it's fuming or burning and becoming toxic. So you really need to narrow in on all the different types of plastics. We will help you with that. There are some resources. There are templates for different types of plastics and like a range of temperatures that you should be experimenting in. But a lot of that, since your machines and your a lot of that's going to come down to you experimenting on your own. Sometimes just for a quick example, sometimes when I'm injecting, if it's a 5 or 10 degrees too hot, the plastic will just leak out of the nozzle, and it's just harder to control. It's just too liquid, basically. So what you have is this like 5 to 10 degree area where it can actually become a bit too hard, become a bit too soft. So I believe on the PreciousPlastic site there are guides showing the different types of temps. I'll look into that and post it. Maybe we'll stumble across this here, actually. Okay, so yes, learn about PreciousPlastic. So basically, once you start your application, that's, then you'll have a little bit of time to go through everything if you haven't already. I imagine that most people that have found this opportunity know who PreciousPlastic is, know what we do, and honestly have been waiting for an opportunity like this to come along to start. So but I'm gonna treat like as if people don't really know that much about it. So here we go. So source secure setup. Now that you've got your bearings, now that you kind of understand the world of precious plastics and you've gone through the academy, you've spoken with us. Yeah. it's time to start getting building blocks of your own PreciousPlastic workspace together. So assemble a team. It's definitely important to have a team. I know some people that try to handle this on their own, and that's fine. But if you have a team of people, you can really delegate responsibilities. Some people can do more work with the community outreach, collection points, rallying the community, while other people will be better at engineering, building machines, troubleshooting, things like that. And then, of course, you want to do some kind of marketing, outreach. There's a lot of different roles here that people can participate in. Like, not every single person has to be like a get down and dirty machinist. As long as you're an environmentalist and an artist of some sort, you have some artistic vision, this will work for you. Well, that's another part of the team that you'd like, is somebody who can potentially maybe design some molds, but again, all of that is actually in the bazaar, so you don't have to, it's not daunting. You don't have to know all of this to get started. There's a whole community of people that have set it up, so you could essentially come in and kind of plug and play. It's up to you. You know, you could really could build all of your own machines from the ground up, or you can use the community to set yourself up and start reclaiming plastic within a couple months. And I say a couple months because once we order the machines, there will likely be a bit of lead time. They will be making them for you. So yes, assembling a team is a great idea, reaching out to your community. One thing I'll say for sure is that there's a ton of people that are super excited about this. Like, it's everybody that finds out about PreciousPlastic is like, wow, this is amazing. What can I do? How can I get involved? So once you do start this, people will come. If you build it, they will come. So okay, find a space. To help you find and set up the spaces for your workspace, you can use the floor plan and the download kit. So this is really great place for just downloading all sorts of different things. Community points, like how to create different workspaces. Let's see. Let's go with a mixed workspace. Ah, it's a pop-up, okay. Let's allow that. Okay, so this is some basic info. Set up your mixed workspace. Let's see what we got here. Ah, yes, here we are. So there's a ton of files for you to download here. This walks you through every single step. And what's great is you have this resource here, but also you will have us throughout the whole process. So if anything is confusing, if you hit any roadblocks, we're just a phone call or email away for you. So I don't want to get too bogged down in the PreciousPlastic website. I did want to show you, oh great, here's the Discord. I think the Discord community is actually very, very active, to be honest. And there's, like, under the One Army, which is the PreciousPlastic hub, there's a worldwide Discord with channels for different parts of the world, and then you can, go into, like, there's a PreciousPlastic USA Discord, and then it's broken down by state, so you can really get local, or you can reach out to the global community. Yes, floor plans. So, as you can see, I'll just go into kind of what we have going. The way that we set up our space is near the entrance we have, here we go. Near the entrance we have like an intake area. So that's one thing to keep in mind no matter what, is the actual largest amount of space that is going to be taken up by unprocessed plastic. Because, 10 pounds of plastic is a giant garbage bag, right? So at first you're going to be taking in like laundry bottles, etc., and they're just going to be very bulky, and you have to break it down. So there's a few different ways. If you have your community actually get engaged, you could ask them to clean and potentially cut some of the plastic down to smaller pieces. In general, it's quite important to have the plastic be cleaned, because you'll end up spending a lot of time just cleaning and sorting and breaking plastic down so that it fits into the shredder. With rounded objects like bottles, sometimes if you put it in the shredder, it'll just kind of tumble there. That's why it's necessary to like cut the pieces in half so that the teeth catch it and start to pull it apart and shred it. Yes, get your machines. Cool, now that you have a space, it's time to get hold of your machines. Your local support team, which is us, will link you to a credible machine partner that is fitting for your context and needs. So that's the default way we're approaching it, because we don't want people to get too bogged down in just building out a space and spending like a year doing that, especially since there's enough funding for you to hire other people who have a bit more experience in doing so. But like somebody in chat said, if you're a mechanical engineer, then go for it. That's fantastic, because to be honest, you might actually be able to troubleshoot some things and add to what we've been doing here. It's all open source, so essentially if you find something, you find a fix or a workaround within the design, that's amazing, because then you can share it with the community and potentially, escalate our efficiencies. So that's open to you. It's just the default is we're assuming most of the spaces are going to be educational, and what we'd really like to do is have them just get going as fast as possible, and really, instead of just being machine builders, building out the community, building out that circular economy, figuring out how to get as much plastic out of the landfill, catch it on the way. So we'll actually talk about that too, sourcing. Yes, safety. Okay, well, let's see. Build your workspace. Follow our tutorials on how to fully set up your mixed workspace. We just kind of went over that right here. It's in the Community Academy. It's step 8. Okay, so you can really go in depth on all of that. Yes, Gary says, you are welcome to use more efficient methods and machines, not obligated to use PreciousPlastic style machines. Absolutely. We do actually, when we scaled up I think it's a fantastic way to start and get your foot in the door and learn about the whole system and the processes without it becoming this daunting task of, it's fantastic that you have this community, but once you've been going and you've identified some bottlenecks near a highway, bottlenecks or inefficiencies, then of course you plug and play. So for example, we have a small compared to some of the beast shredder machines, but we have an industrial machine, and it definitely is much more efficient, much faster, but it is incredibly loud and it is not mobile. So if you want to do any kind of education, or you want to do some kind of like pop-ups, go to your local community, a shredder like this one here is perfect because it's fairly mobile. It's incredibly quiet, actually. It doesn't have like a giant motor. Whereas this machine here, the green one, that's an industrial shredder. It requires 220 power for one. And it's just incredibly loud, so in a kind of an educational school setting, that might be a bit too much. But if you're producing or working through large amounts of plastic, then yes. If you're working through large amounts of plastic, then you do want to increase your efficiencies. Otherwise, you're going to have a bottleneck in the intake part. Yes, Gary said PP machines are amazing for education and pop-outs. Exactly, exactly. They're safe, they're really approachable, they're quiet. Yeah, and they're a lot of fun, honestly. People love watching things get shred, love seeing the process of plastic turning into a putty to make new products. So yes, let's see. Safety. I wanted to talk about this quite a bit. It's very important. We all know about microplastics. We all even know that there's nanoplastics at this point. So yes, to avoid breathing in microplastics when shredding or storing dust masks to protect the dust mask are very important. Yes, even shredding. I mean, obviously, if you're injecting, what you'll have is a fume extractor, and hopefully you have ventilation systems set up so the air quality remains the same. But since you're going to be up close and personal with the machinery, it's important for you to wear PPE equipment. Just N95 mask, or if you're really worried, then something like a painter's mask where you attach filters. If you're working with extrusion or working long hours and you think that your space is kind of getting filled up with some fumes, then yes, one of those N100 masks it would be ideal. But I will say, I have one, and I do wear it when I do more extreme things, like melting styrofoam and stuff like that, because I honestly have no idea what the fumes will be. But the problem is that you can't really wear that mask for a long time. It's so, you know, you'll have like 2-3 hour moments, then you'll have to take a break and come back. Respirator masks, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, just so everybody knows, I am ESL, so my English second language crap does come out, and sometimes I forget the word and just, you know, talk around it until everybody understands what I'm getting at. Yes, goggles, safety glasses, very important if you're working with anything. From something basic like this, just, you know, all of the machinery has safety measures. So like the shredder, for example, has a top. If you pop it open, there's a kill switch, so it won't keep shredding. There's safety measures everywhere, but this is also very important. You never know when a piece of, you know, a tiny little piece of plastic might fly, and so this is great to protect your eyes. And then if you're doing anything more intensive, like when we're working with the pneumatic injector, which it's a powerful machine, we actually wear something like this. It's like a welding thing, but this will definitely make sure that you're safe. And then yes, when operating the machines and interacting with melted plastic, always wear heat-proof gloves. Indeed, I will say, shamefully admit that my hands have a ton of burns. We just kind of go with these Schwer gloves. Not sponsored, wish we were. These are actually really fantastic. You can get them on Amazon or whatever. There's a few different choices, but absolutely, yeah, barbecue gloves, exactly. Absolutely, always wear gloves because this plastic, you know, it's very hot and then it cools very quickly. So if you get it on your hand, it's kind of like it's kind of almost like super glue. Like it's gonna burn you and melt into it's hard to get off. You do not want to deal with any of that. It can be a disaster, and you know, you'll get blisters and it'll make it hard for you to work for the next couple of weeks, I'll tell you, from experience. I've had to, burn myself a few times just to be like, okay, no more shortcuts. So please understand that. Don't take shortcuts because this is very safe if you do everything correctly, but if you're being careless, you could hurt yourself a little bit. Special reminder, local team you'll be connected to will also go through all the necessary information with you. That's us. We're going through the information tonight because we have had some emails with different types of questions, so we wanted to create this resource for anybody to get in touch with. Silicon oven mitts. Excellent. Yeah, what do we have? We have wondering if it's something like these. I think these are silicone. Yeah. So yeah, there's a few different options. But very important to get some high grade stuff, like something like this, that's just kind of like workers' gloves. Absolutely not. The heat will melt this, the plastic will melt this glove. That's just light protection. So barbecue gloves or silicone oven mitts, absolutely. Okay, let's go to the next step, collecting and cleaning. There isn't a lot here, so well, I will show you. This is the map. This is an incredible resource. What you can look through here is basically you can find everything you would like. Okay, so Gary says they're great, but less heat absorption than barbecue gloves, the silicone white ones. So I imagine if you hold an object long enough, it's gonna start to burn. So you have to be quick with it. Whereas it's true with the Schwer gloves that, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but with those gloves, you can actually, because we do some work where we're bending beams, so we have to sit there and hold this beam that just got extruded at like 250 degrees for a few minutes, and you can feel some heat, but it doesn't actually get to the point of burning. They're quite good. A bit expensive, but honestly very much worth it. So what's great is everything here is broken down, so you can look like where's there an extruder near you, or a mixed workspace, or a collection point. Let's check out the collection points because that's what we're talking about here. But yes, please do check out this map. I'm actually gonna just throw it in the chat right now if anybody feels like checking it out themselves. Did that work? It did. Amazing. Because this is a great way to connect with your community geographically, essentially. So not much going on in New York. I think we represent most of it. Maybe we should put ourselves back on the map. We've been kind of incognito for a while, but that's just because we've been really busy building out and taking on different types of projects. Oh, I see that my my video is getting in the way. So collection points, yes, you can find collection points, you can find machine shops, community points, and then what's interesting is there's a ton of people that would love to get started. So that's another cool resource, that if you do create a space and you go on this map and you see these hands up in your community, reach out to these people because they might be really psyched that somebody finally did it locally, and they'll just want to get involved and propel this forward with you. Honestly, it's a very positive experience. Everyone is always really excited about what we're doing. Uh-oh. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Had to click back a bunch of times. So, collecting and cleaning. This is actually a very important aspect, but also unique to each situation. I think that's why they haven't really spent a lot of time. ChangeX hasn't spent a lot of time filling this out, because essentially it all depends on your local community, what you have access to, whether there's, okay, let's put it this way. There's a laundromat everywhere, right? So almost anywhere you will find plastic to source, but in certain communities, there are collection centers that you can tap into, or some kind of businesses that tend to produce a lot of plastics, like labs and things like that, that if you could create a direct relationship with them, then you might be able to have like a steady source of plastic coming in. So you have to look around your community, figure out, put feelers out, see if there's anybody that would want to work with you that has larger amounts of plastic. But also, I think what's really great is getting your community, let's put it this way, I think there's a ton of plastic hoarders out there. I mean, I am as well, up until now. And it's not because we're necessarily hoarders, but we just don't want to put the plastic in the trash. So if you tap into that part of your community, you're going to have a steady flow of plastic coming in. There's a lot of people that feel the same way that we do. They do not want to throw out their plastic, and it just ends up piling up in their kitchen, to-go containers or whatever. So by creating this precious plastic space, you're actually creating an avenue for people to bring that plastic that they've been collecting. So yeah, laundromats, even your local library, a school, a store or restaurant, those are all great ideas to source plastic. And I think it's quite important to create a direct relationship. So I'm not sure how it is everywhere, but in New York, you're actually not allowed to take plastic directly off of the street. Like once a business has put the garbage and the recycling out on the street, that's at that point municipal property. I talked about this a bit last time, but I just want to go over this again in case there's new people watching. But I really don't think anybody will enforce this. It's not like cops are going to show up and be like, "What are you doing going through this trash?" I mean, in New York City, there's a ton of people that actually make an economy out of collecting aluminum cans, and nobody has any, nobody's trying to shut that down. But basically, we believe that it has to do with the mafia and potentially corruption or anti-corruption efforts, where there's you need a carting license in order to touch that plastic. And our speculation on it is that if that didn't exist, then basically like bootleg black market carding companies could start offering better rates, and it could become a mess. I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to explain for them because I don't really understand all of the bureaucracy. But like I said, I think it's mostly in theory. And if you were sourcing plastic directly from the street, I doubt you would like end up getting arrested. And in fact, if you did get arrested, what an amazing media opportunity that would be. I mean, I'm not encouraging that, but that's a pretty interesting marketing ploy. Get arrested for trying to recycle plastics. So yes, reach out to check out the collection points on the map, and then reach out to your own community. I bet everybody that's interested in this has already identified sources of plastic, basically on a daily basis you're seeing it. And you're like, what can we do with this? So you're just creating that space for it to land. Okay, shredding, molding, creating. Let me grab a little drink of my cola. Again, I hope that the audio is good. We had some trouble with the audio last session because I was noobing out and left it on mono, but I can see. I understand. There's an audio mixer and everything. It looks like it's stereo. It looks like it's fairly loud. I just wouldn't want people to have to like turn their computer all the way up just to hear me. I'm also trying to balance it with the highway behind me, so it's not just that. Anyways, now we're getting into the nitty gritty. This is the machines, shredding, molding, creating. Shred your plastic using your shredder. Shred the collected plastic waste into small shreds ready to be used in the other machines. Make sure to shred plastic by type, and as a plus, by color, so you can create beautiful patterns later on. Yes, incredibly important that you sort all of your plastic by type. The most important thing is that each type of plastic has a different molding temp. So if you have mixed plastics, some might burn if the temperature is too high and the molding temp is lower. But on the other side, if it's too low, some plastic might not melt and can just create a failed product. So it's very important to understand all the molding temps and sort all the plastic separately. And of course, sorting it by color just gives you so much more access to create all different types of, you can just get artistic with it, basically. I'm going to show you a couple things. So this is all polypropylene number 5 plastic. You can smell the detergent actually still, even after you clean and wash the plastic. It'll often still have a nice soapy smell to it, which is nice. It's pleasant, to be honest. This is a nice yellow. There will always be a little bit of mix of other color because unless you're very diligent about cleaning your shredder every single time, which we try to do. We want the color as clean as possible because we want to be able to make products that are like block color, not always rainbow. So yes, number 1, sort by type. And what's great is in the US, almost all plastic is labeled. We do come across moments where it's not, but there are other methodologies to figure out, and there are some resources on PreciousPlastic, but I will also get into it a bit later, how you can kind of speculate on what kind of plastic it is, and if it doesn't make sense, like it's not easy to figure out, it could actually be number 7. And number 7 plastics are the most difficult ones because they're new types of polymers or some kind of strange mixes of different types of plastics. So those are the most difficult ones to work with. So I'll tell you right away, if you see number 7, really do a lot of research before you mess with it at all, because what was I looking at recently? Yeah, I was looking at PUR. This is number 7, PUR. It's polyurethane foam. And when I was looking, I was thinking, because I've been breaking down styrofoam using certain methods back into like a liquid styrene, and I was thinking like, what can I do with this? But after reading about it, I found out that one of the major components in it is like chlorine bleach within the polymers. So when you start breaking it down, you can just imagine the amount of fumes of chlorine, etc., that would be emitted. So absolutely no way. Besides that, a lot of that plastic is actually combustible, highly volatile. Yes, number 6 is super hard to recycle, and most recycling plants don't even mess with it. I think a lot of the problem with polystyrene is that it's just a really crappy plastic. You know, it's very brittle. It doesn't last long. It chips. So not a lot of people want to work with it. And if you look in our society, it's polystyrene is always single use plastics. It's like the lowest common denominator of terrible plastic. But because of that, I mean, it's what's nice is that there are a lot of policy changes that are getting styrofoam out of our environment. But because of the fact that recyclers don't really want to mess with it, I think it's a great product to try to figure something out with, because really nobody's doing that. And largely is because it's not necessarily economically viable. As we know, most of this stuff is led by money, money. What can I get out of this? Yes, New York City, everybody. Um, get molds. To make products, you need molds. Molds can be done in multiple ways. You can have a look at our create section in the academy. Yeah, this is we were here earlier, talking about designs, finished objects, and then injection molding. That's really nice, actually. How to. This is amazing. This is such an amazing resource. I know it's quite a bit overwhelming at first. Like, we actually had an interview this morning. Fantastic educator. I think he is actually going to end up, or fingers crossed, he's going to end up getting the funding, because he's an educator with like elementary and high school students, and I could tell he felt a bit overwhelmed because there's so much information, and I think we put him at ease that we're going to be in contact with him on a regular basis. So, but point is you'll have us, but there's also all of these resources to look into. This washing machine is brilliant. That is one of the hardest things, to be honest, is sourcing and cleaning. Okay, so we did kind of go over the academy. I presented it before, but it is in step 4 of the ChangeX program. Yes, check out our how-tos to get inspired. Yes, we did see that before. There's a ton of information. You can get lost in it for hours, so I'm trying not to go too deep. Okay. Yes, exactly. Your local support team will also be able to connect you with available molds. Yeah. In the beginning, when your application is accepted, we'll have an introductory call, and we'll kind of assess what you really want to do, if you're more focused on the system and collection, or if you're more focused on creating products, whether you want it to be educational, or if you'd actually want to create an economy and sell recycled plastic products so that you could potentially pay people to collect it, create a bounty on the plastic. It's all possible. If we can create value around this. If you create enough value, then everybody in the whole process, from sourcing and collecting, cleaning, shredding, making, everybody can actually make a decent living out of this. At least that's what we're trying to do. It's not that easy, but I believe as time goes on, more corporate level people, companies, even government policy will change, and there will be a higher ascribed value to recycled plastics. Ideally, we do need plastic in our world. If you go into a hospital, most of the equipment there is made out of plastic. We do need it. But ideally, if we stop using fossil fuels, then we'll have to start reusing the plastic that already exists. I mean, that's what we're hoping for. So yes, make some products. Now that you have all the things, so you have the machines, that will help you source. We'll figure out what kind of products you want to make, whether you want to make small things or things as big as furniture. We'll set you up with either extrusion molds or injector molds. And then you'll be able to start making some products. Yes, browse how to and create chapter in the Academy to learn how to make different products and adopt the best practices. Experiment and have fun. Yes, that's really important that you don't feel boxed in by any of this. This is kind of like a template for you to be able to explore on your own and innovate this system. That's why it's so beautiful that it's open source, because you can use this template to create your own little world, and then share it with us, our community, and push everything forward. Yeah. I am jumping around a little bit. We did a stream on Sunday going over much of this, so I hope I'm not skipping anything that I may have talked about on Sunday. Trying to be as thorough as possible. So, the community connection. Yeah. It's very important that you let your community know what you're doing. Like I said, people will be super excited and will basically just say, okay, what can I do? How can I help you? Much more than just bringing you plastics, but people really want to get engaged. They just don't know how. So, yes, you're going to have to reach out to your community, let everyone know that what you're doing, and create a circular system. Get on Discord. Yes, I sent a thing. Sent a link for our Discord. But there is a fantastic resource with the One Army Discord, which is the international one. So it's the whole worldwide community pooling together. It's One Army. And there's a PreciousPlastic section. Let's see. I'll actually drop a link to that as well, because it's really a great resource. The earlier link was to our own Discord if you'd like to call in and talk about anything, but this here is the One Army Discord to the whole international community. It's very active, so I encourage everybody to get on there and ask questions, read through some of the threads that are up there. People have been at this for years and have been collaborating and problem solving on all sorts of things. So when you're first getting started, you might run into problems that have already been resolved in the past. So it's always good to look at what where the community's at, so you don't waste too much time just trying to figure out something that is actually fairly simple once you know. So yeah, Discord channel, here's the invite. Yeah, I actually just sent the same invite out, but here's an invite to the One Army Discord. And then, well, yeah, the community brings you back to the Academy. But you can also, reach out to PreciousPlastic here with questions. Then there's the map, like I said, which Alright, we're gonna have to go back here. Okay, check your area. Get an overview of who and what is already existing in your area. Yeah, take a look at the PreciousPlastic map, because you might have some collection points. You might want to set up a collection point. And like I said, you might actually have people with their hands raised just being like, hey, I want to get involved, but I don't know how. Um, and if you're starting, suddenly you might have a team of really lovely people wanting to work together with you on this. Um, and it is lovely people, like I said, because this is all very positive. We're trying to, the motivation isn't to necessarily to make money, get rich, get famous. The motivation is to do something about this plastic pollution problem and be kind to our planet. So, you know, you're going to be dealing with some really good people. .30-day challenge. Here you go. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to submit your application. Obviously, all of these resources in the 5-step guide are available to you before you even submit an application, so you can get a good idea of what it takes and what you can do. So you can, before even making any decision, you can really immerse yourself. But yes, this is how to start a project on ChangeX. So you're going to submit your application, which is this green button here. I will click on that afterwards and we'll work through it. And then you're going to complete a 30-day challenge. The 30-day challenge is a series of simple steps that each applicant completes to unlock a proportion of the total funding, if funding is available. If funding is available because of your region. So if you're outside of a region where the funding is available, this Start a Precious Plastic space button won't actually be available to you. Now I do want to address, especially since posting on the Discords, a lot of people have come up from different parts of the country that's not New York and California, and they seem to really know what they're doing and are ambitious and excited, and we really would like to get this funding to people outside of just these 2 states. So we have been talking with the ChangeX team, and depending on how the first round goes, there might very well be a second round of funding coming out with a bit looser parameters, at least with respect to region. I think the nonprofit and school thing will remain, but I think the fiscal sponsorship option is a really good one for anybody who does not have a nonprofit organization or doesn't have the time to start one, because that is another 3 to 6 month process if you're trying to do it on your own. If you're not, I mean, the reason why a lot of people do not have a nonprofit is because it's a very complicated process, or you have to have some money to pay somebody to do this for you. And most people who are trying to start a nonprofit, well, like us, don't have money to pay a team of lawyers and accountants to create all of that paperwork for you. So it ends up being quite daunting. Anyways, going back, point is fiscal sponsorship. Look it up. Fractured Atlas is a good resource. If you just Google fiscal sponsorship, like fiscal sponsorship for environmental projects, I'm sure a lot of things will come up. And then you can reach out to them directly, show them this opportunity, see if they're excited. They'll vet you, see if you're being serious about this as well. You'll be going through a bit of a vetting process with ChangeX, but obviously the nonprofit, if they want to put their tax exempt status, let you use it, they're going to make sure that you have the best intentions and aren't trying to misappropriate funds. Okay, so steps include watching a video and or reading content. That's a lot of the stuff that we've been going over. You should definitely familiarize yourself with all of that information over the first 30 days. That way, when you're in contact with us, you can use the time to solve or answer much more complex questions. It would be a shame to underuse us for basic things. Obviously, we're here to talk you through anything, all the basics and everything, but we've also done a ton of troubleshooting and have had different machines and had to calibrate them and understand all of the ins and outs of what it takes to really streamline everything and get everything up and running. And unfortunately, most of the time, it's not right out of the box, and that's okay. You know, this is a community that's DIY, so most of these machines are made by other people like us. They're very professional, but it's not like you're getting some giant corporation just cranking out thousands of these machines and it's just working out of the box. But every time that you buy machinery, you will also have the machinists at your disposal. So you'll have the people who built the machines to be able to talk to and calibrate, as well as us. So then you'll learn about everything, and then you'll have a first call with a ChangeX team member. Then forming a team so that you have support. Absolutely, it's incredibly important. Then having your first team meeting. And sharing a team photo and a project action plan. Exactly. So, you know, you create this, you build your team out, get together, and then document this so that ChangeX can see what you're doing and, you know, some kind of proof. And of course, a project action plan, and that we will work on with you, because not everybody's idea, not everybody's going to want to do the same thing. Some people will want to really just create a circular economy and create shredded plastics and maybe sell them to other fabricators. Other people might want to get into this a lot more artistically or educationally. So we will totally calibrate whatever you want to do, and we'll speak with you about what the best machinery for you would be. But yeah, so 30-day challenge. Once you have the application, it's fairly simple. You have 30 days to start building out your team. Once you know that funding's available, you'll really be able to move forward. And then in 30 days, once you fill all of this, you will get, I think it's 75% of the funding so that you can purchase the machinery. And then once your whole workspace is set up, and there'll be a few more. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm walking through it. So you'll activate your project, right? If your application is successful, you'll do this 30 days, which will include having a conversation with us. So. Then you'll activate your project, follow the 5 steps and your action plan to bring the project to life, which is what we just went through. And then you're going to share the impact summary to access the remaining funds and continue your project. So basically, the way it works is that you're going to actually get more than 50%. I think it's something like 70% of the funding to get going, because most of your expenses are actually going to be machinery. So you're going to get access to the majority of the funding to set up, and then once you've shared an impact summary and show us that you're continuing the project and that it's kickstarted and going, you will receive more funds. Another, it's going to be 25-30%. That'll be between 5 US to 5,000 US, or like 8,000 Canadian. And what that will be great for is, at that point, you will already kind of identify your next level of needs, like what kind of molds you'd like to purchase, or if you'd like to set up a washing facility. There's always more things you could buy to build out your space. So that funding, by the time that the smaller amount comes, you'll probably have plenty of uses for it. So teams report impact by completing a survey and sharing text and photo updates 2 to 6 months after completing the 30-day challenge to unlock the remaining funding if it's available. Yeah, 2 to 6 months. So what we're talking about is from the 30-day challenge part to working with us and then deciding which machines you want. And then that's going to be a lead time of 4 to 6 weeks depending on how many applications we have and how fast fabricators can work. But basically, it'll take, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks for the machines to arrive. And in that time, you can really galvanize your community and figure out some collection points, let everyone know what you're doing, so that by the time that the machines come, you'll kind of be ready to go. And then, of course, it's going to take 2 to 6 months to really show us your progress. We don't expect on day one that there's going to be 50 people knocking on your door with garbage bags full of empty plastic bottles. So you're going to have to let the word spread. People are going to slowly get exposure to what you're doing, and 6 months down the line, you should really be well on your way. I like that this gives you a loose amount of time, because it really depends. I mean, some people are so ready and set up to go at this point that once they have the machines, boom, boom, boom. But other people, they're going to take their time. Building out their community, learning the machinery, so that they can educate other people about it. It'll take some time. So it's wonderful that it's a fairly loose timeline. What is this great for? Someone who wants to reduce plastic waste in their community, someone who is super keen on learning this new craft, local plastic recycling, yes. Obviously, if you're an environmentalist, if you're an artist, if you're an educator, all of this is wonderful. So let's, yeah, we went over most of this, the starter kits. Okay, so let's go through this start an application process. Looks like I'm already, let's see if we can go through step 1. Looks like I'm already in step 2. I believe step 1 is just filling out some personal information. And I think step 2 is the most important. So step 1 is literally just letting us know where you are, or letting ChangeX know where you are, what your name is. And here, this is essentially the whole grant application. So we're going to work through this. Once you have ensured that you meet all of the eligibility criteria found on the fund page and idea page, please complete the below application. If you would like to draft your application before submission, you can revisit this form in the same browser on the same device. On your responses will be saved. Oh, I see. That's probably what happened. So I went through the first step and put my name in, etc., and got to this place. So organization details. So like we've been saying, it's mostly for nonprofits and schools. This association here or other, this is where I think fiscal sponsorship would come into play. So it's basically if you're associated with a nonprofit or a school in some way, and you have a working relationship and they'd be willing to vouch for you. And then I think fiscal sponsorship you would most likely put under other. I did speak with our close ChangeX team member, and she said that, so please do get in touch with us at Hello PreciousPlastic NYC. I'll actually throw that in here, because you can write to us directly, and you can also write to the ChangeX team. There's a way to reach us. We have our own site. In case you're having trouble with this application page, if we can't figure out what you need to do next, the ChangeX team has actually opened the door and said, please let people get in touch with me directly if you think they're good applicants. So don't feel too overwhelmed, and don't feel like, oh no, this isn't for me. Because I think if you have all the right intentions and you have a good community and you have access to fiscal sponsorship, this opportunity absolutely is for you. So here you go. So please upload a copy of your legal registration documentation. So obviously, if you're a school or a nonprofit, you know exactly what that is. Now, if you're in the process of starting a nonprofit, potentially you might be able to get some kind of, EIN, tax ID, while you're still in the process of going through the Secretary of State's office. And then fiscal sponsorship, of course, your fiscal sponsor, the 501c3, who will be vouching for you, will also provide you with legal documentation. Please provide the name of your organization. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then, of course, it's really hot today. Organization, tax ID, charity number. Again, if you're a school, I should maybe make myself a little smaller. There we go. So that I'm not blocking any of this. So, of course, if you're a school or a nonprofit, charitable organization, you know exactly what to put here, tax ID or charity number. If you are not, then, let's see, please provide the full legal name of your organization. So you can actually, if you don't have a tax ID, you can just use your organization name again. It's not going to make it that you can't push the application through. So now the next few questions here, I think, because the opportunity, if I haven't mentioned it, I have been mentioning it on social media, but if I haven't mentioned it up until now, it's actually ServiceNow that's providing this opportunity for decarbonization efforts. And they reached out to ChangeX to find the right projects to fund decarbonization. And ChangeX decided that PreciousPlastic is a fantastic project and they'd like to support us. So that's why ServiceNow appears here, because they want to make sure that there's no conflict of interest with people working within the organization that's providing the funding, right? So are you an employee of ServiceNow? Most likely this does not apply to you. Does your organization have a ServiceNow employee either playing a strategic role in managing your organization or on the board of your organization? Most likely does not apply to you. But if it does, please provide the name and surname. So you're going to have to basically share some information so that people can look. ServiceNow will be able to just make sure that there's no conflict of interest, because I think that's the most important thing to them. I don't believe that they're going to be, ServiceNow wants to make an impact, and they want to make sure that they're not doing something wrong. So I don't think they're closely looking at our end of the spectrum. It's basically us and ChangeX working with ServiceNow money to provide you funding. Oh, by the way, next to the highway, underneath the highway, is the Amtrak. So you get to hear the train as well. Please share a link to the website or social media profile of your organization. This could be an Instagram account. Not everybody has a website at this point. So any kind of Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. Where did you hear about ChangeX? Yes, word of mouth from another organization. That would be, if you heard from us, email from ChangeX, newspaper, TV, radio. Be interesting if they do some kind of advertising. See, ChangeX is a worldwide organization, so I'm not sure how large of a footprint they have in the US. But they are vetted and legit and a charitable organization based out of Ireland, I believe. So not a scam in any way, and actually an incredible opportunity. Because outside of the parameters that we're going through, there's not many strings attached here. It's not money you're going to have to pay back. It's not like you're going to have to show some kind of profitability or anything like that. All you have to show is engagement. And they want to see 6 months, a year down the line that you're still doing this, that you're really, that's why schools are a perfect applicant, because once you build out that workspace, as new students come in through the school, this will just be an education hub for years to come. Anyways, I'm getting a little carried away here. Yes, please supply a phone number, secondary contact, who's willing to be a point of contact in case you are no longer reachable. This is great for organizations because sometimes people come and go. And now we go into more the grant application part. It's fairly short. You're supposed to really, 300 word max. I mean, what is that? It's like a paragraph essentially, or two. So you just have to kind of concisely let us know where you're at. So we know a little bit more about you. So, very important, motivation. Tell us a little about why you'd like to start this project. Tell us why you think your community needs this project, who will be the team working on this project, and why you are motivated to take it on. Absolutely. This is very important because if you just think this is cool and it's not, basically it's going to be quite a bit of work, so it takes quite a bit of energy and engagement and follow through. So we just want to make sure we're just going to help you set up. They want to make sure that you're properly motivated and have a good plan. So project plan, share a timeline including expected start date and any other key dates, and a compact project plan summarizing the sequence of the key project activities. Right, so if you're a school, for example, and it's like May, June now, your project might not really start to kick off till September, and that's fine. That will give you the summer to build out everything and get going, create like a marketing plan, Instagram account, learn all the machinery and all of that. But basically, just kind of they just want to get an idea of what your plans are. And then for us, the people that will be helping you set up, summarizing key project activities is going to really help us understand how we should set you up. Whether you want to take in a lot of plastic and just work through plastic, or and potentially sell it on the bazaar as granules shredded plastic, or if what you're more interested in is just building, creating small objects and building out a community and more on like a social impact level. That also is the way that you can approach this. You don't have to make products, essentially. There's a few different ways. You can be a community outreach, education, or just like a collection milling point where you're taking in plastics and then you're sending out shredded materials to other makers. Or you can be a maker of your own, a designer, or do consulting. Once you're a few years down the road, you'll be able to help other people set these types of workspaces out. Be a missionary of your own, like us. So yeah, 300 words max, so it's not they don't expect much. They just really want to know a basic timeline and what you foresee happening. And of course, things will change as we discuss and we have our phone calls. It's not always, we're not going to hold you to exactly what you said here. We just really want to know how creative and what you'd like to do with this. So project budget, please provide a breakdown of how you will use the funding, provide estimated costs associated with each line item, breaking down the total fund amount you are applying for. Note, it is important for you to familiarize yourself with the idea page. Take note of any stipulations of how the funding should be spent. Yes, so there's a lot here actually. So this is kind of letting you know that you should, before applying, be familiar with all of the resources that ChangeX has put up there, because you'll, with the bazaar and everything, you'll even get a decent idea of what the cost of the machinery will be. But I can tell you right away that within that $20,000 of funding, which a little bit more Canadian depending on exchange rate, you will be able to acquire a full set of machines and some molds to get started. So as well as like, PPE equipment, protective equipment, masks, glasses, fume extractors, any kind of ventilation systems, all of that we're going to help you set up, and all of that is that you'll have a budget for it. So there is some work you have to do on your own, but these are estimates essentially. So we can kind of figure out how much you want to spend on what. If you really want to go into building out a beautiful space with all of the machines, then that will take a larger part of the budget. Provide estimated costs associated with each line and breaking down the total fund amount you are applying for. Right, so the fund amount is $20,000. This again is something that if somebody has been watching and would want to call in or has any questions, this is something that we can actually go into further detail with, because we already do have some estimated numbers. I think you can get all of the machines up and running for $10,000 to $12,000. I might be wrong. It might be a little bit more. It depends also what type of power sources you have. If you only have 110 power, you might have to install 220, which will cost $500 to $1,000. There's random little expenses here and there. This also isn't taking into account the fact that you'll need a space. That's probably going to be one of your biggest long-term expenses, and I'm not really sure how far this funding will go to help sustain your rent costs. Obviously, I'll look into it in a bit more detail. There's nothing saying that you can't use the money for rent, essentially, or just finding a space, so first, last, and security, something like that. But I don't think that ChangeX would want you to use the majority of that money just to pay your rent. It's really important to start or expand the space and do more innovative things. But I'm sure the ChangeX team and we will go into a lot more details about that with you as well. So basically the project budget will mostly be machines, molds, protective equipment, any kind of electrical that you might need to set up. That's going to be the base costs. On top of that, you can get into different things. Like earlier today with one of our applicants, we were talking about 3D printing. So there's a way that you can cut down mold costs by using high temp 3D printing resin. So what you would have is a blank mold that you can put in inserts. So you 3D print your own inserts so that you can make all sorts of different products. Short term, that might be a bigger cost because you have to get some 3D printing going and all of that. Ideally, you already have that equipment and know what you're doing with that. But long term, it's much cheaper if you have a blank mold and you can continue to change the inserts inside it rather than having a mold machine cut for every single object that you want to make. The molds, if it's something small like a keychain, something tiny, even on the bazaar you can find something that's like a clamp mold, right? So you're just clamping it down, it's not screwed in, which those are small, clamp, and then you'd be injecting it. Those are small and don't take a lot of pressure, so they don't need to get screwed in. Anything larger, you're actually going to need to have it be bolted. And those, so the tiny molds, I would say between $50 and $100, you can get, make a little cute heart keychain, something along those lines. And it works its way up from there. So if you want to for example, I recently ordered a bead mold, and I think it's a fantastic idea. Don't steal my idea, or well, it's open to anybody, so whatever. But I think it's a fantastic idea for workshops because if you're bringing in young people into the space, they're going to be really intrigued, and you'll be able to show them the machines and how it works. But then you don't want them to be at the machines the whole time. You want them to, we'll shoot some plastic, inject some stuff, and then what you want is to have a couple tables and the students or the workshop participants to play with the extruded new plastic. So, the processing will be like choosing colors and then a quick injection, and then the rest of the work will be outside, away from the machinery, meaning like you'll be making like a little necklace or a keychain or a bracelet, something like that, like arts and crafts stuff. So that mold, depending on how many beads you want to do at once, will go between $350, $400 to like $1,000. And that's, again, depending on how much CNC machining has gone into this giant piece of metal. And then something like a brick mold, that's when you're really getting into higher price points, over $1,000 for sure. I think you can, on the bazaar, you can find a set of beam molds, so that you can extrude plastic lumber. You can get a set, I think, for $1,200 to $1,500 as well. So these aren't small costs, but what's fantastic is that you have funding to do this. So within that 20K, I'll say you're not going to be able to buy everything, right? So we're going to have to make some choices as to what's most important for you to get started with. Meaning not everything isn't like, you won't be able to go really deep into extrusion, but also like order a bunch of injector molds. You're kind of gonna have to start somewhere first and then work your way through. Because about 50% of the money is actually just gonna go into the machines. So like I said, please get in, if you've gone through the academy, you've gone through the PreciousPlastic stuff, and this is what's stumping you. Like, what do you mean project budget? But I haven't spoken with my PreciousPlastic team, and I don't know how much machines are going to cost. Sure, some of the information's out there online, but it's okay if it's estimates. And please feel free to reach out to us if you want better estimates on this. We're available. We're more than happy to help you. Okay, so ServiceNow employee volunteering opportunities. Share some examples of how you might include local ServiceNow employees as volunteers throughout your project implementation. Again, I don't know about this. This is like from the back end. I don't know any ServiceNow employees, but if you do, or if ServiceNow is what brought you to this opportunity, then you're likely going to have to explain yourself. Project sustainability and impact. What evidence is there of a long-term commitment to the project that from your organization? Geez, I hope that beeping isn't driving people nuts. I kind of, I tune it out. There's not much I can do about it if someone's backing up. What evidence is there of a long-term commitment to the project from your organization? How will you ensure that the project will be maintained by your group? Yeah, this is important. I think we will help you sustain this, and we'll troubleshoot with you, a few months down the line once you've gotten your machinery and everything. But I think ChangeX, for them, it's really important, and they will make choices based on sustainability of your project. Essentially, if you have some kind of stability and you're plugging this into a fairly stable environment, obviously that's ideal. But we also understand that $20,000 is a large amount of money. Like, you can create some kind of sustainability for your project using those funds. Because, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the beginning, but it's important for everybody to know that this isn't just for new precious plastic projects. It can be for projects who have started in the past and have need funding to continue or buy new machinery. You're also welcome to apply. So yeah, 100 words max. Obviously, just want to let them know that your intentions are to keep this going. I think everybody's intentions will be, but some kind of like understanding of the commitment, and not just you, but the organization as a whole. Project impact. How will you measure the success of your project? Give a description of the expected impact on your community and at least 3 measurable outcomes of the project. Well, you know, as an environmental person, I'm sure every single person here can come up with 3 measurable outcomes. Decreasing plastic in the landfills, decreasing air pollution, and then educational awareness for future generations. There you go. I mean, if you can accomplish any of that, your project's going to be a great success. So basically, I'm sure every single person that's applying already has a great idea of what they would like to do, so this shouldn't be too hard. This should be the easy part, because you've been thinking about what you'd like to do and just haven't really had the funding to be able to get it going. So tell us what you want to do. Tell us what a successful precious plastics project would be to you. Would it be creating products, doing consulting, decreasing pollution, decreasing waste in landfills, education of our children? Lots of great stuff to talk about there. Are there other considerations that might be useful for us to know when considering your application? It's nice that they put this here, because not every single applicant is going to be a very, like, it's not going to be a completely cut and dry thing. If you're a nonprofit and you have your tax ID and you're an environmental group and you have a space and everything, you're a perfect applicant. Boom, let's ship that money to you. But there's a lot of great applicants who don't fall perfectly into the bureaucratic criteria. So if you're one of those applicants, this is your chance to make a case for yourself, kind of, you know, like explain some of the other things that you're doing or what your objectives are. Yeah, how you're gonna make impact. This is a required one. Okay, beneficiaries. Tell us who will benefit from this project. Think about the groups in your community who will be positively impacted. Examples include women, veterans, marginalized racial ethnic groups, immigrants or refugees, indigenous groups, religious minorities, LGBTQ plus groups, older people, youth, people with disabilities, people with low income or others. Well, that essentially includes everybody, but the point is what is your community and who will you directly impact? I imagine you're actually going to be impacting almost all of these groups, because environmentalism affects every single person, but you might actually be a part of a community that is very specific, you know, and might affect a certain group more than others. So this is great to share. I think that's probably for the back end for them to understand the different types of applicants and what they would like to do. This one cracks me up. Scope. How many people will this project benefit in its first year? I forgot to actually bring this up to the ChangeX team because I kind of wanted to understand what they mean by this. part of me thinks that this could be a very large number. I mean, it could be like 1,000 plus people. Because how do you quantify this? If you're pulling plastic from your community and you're taking hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds of plastic out of your community every year, you're affecting thousands of people. You're making substantial change. But then also, I guess you could talk about it on a very local micro level, that the people in your community will get directly impacted and have benefits from this project. So a good example of that. Now, I'm not sure if my camera died. Seems that my camera may have died. Not sure what the problem is with video. There's always a problem when you're first learning how to stream. Interesting. Well, I'm not going to get too bogged down with this because we're coming to an end actually talking about this. So how many people will this project benefit in its first year? Well, I would say, you can narrow it in and say 10. And that would mean that you're just thinking about the people in your local community that could stand to benefit potentially financially or from a cleaner park. I mean, gosh, even if we're talking about a cleaner park, that's already thousands of people that you're benefiting. That's why it's an interesting question, because when it comes to environmental work and cleaning up your neighborhood and doing recycling reclamation work, the amount of people that this affects is that indirectly is just really large. So I personally am not sure how to quantify this, but I don't think there's any wrong answer here, is what I've been meaning to say. Like, you could talk about just a few people in your direct community, or you can generalize and scope it out to the 100,000 people that live in your city, for example. Okay, well, that's about it for the application. I think it's pretty straightforward. It does seem daunting because it's a lot of information in the beginning, but like it says, don't worry. You're gonna have people on your side. In the US, namely, it's gonna be my partner and I, and in other parts of the world like Australia, PreciousPlastic Melbourne, who are even more established than us, and they're going to be supporting their local groups. So you're not alone at any point of this process. So yeah, last minute thing. I forgot I wanted to kind of go over this in the beginning, but in case anybody else is still watching, the resource checklist here is actually pretty important. Sustainable Design Studios do in UK. Fantastic. So you see this beautiful yellow machine. Oh, I was going to point, but I don't know what happened with my camera. I was going to say, see this beautiful machine in our background. it's a sustainable design machine. Sorry, I'm trying to reconnect the camera. I generally feel like I need a Well, last time I was stumped by the audio, and now I am stumped by the video. So strange. If I knew, if I had much more experience than I've had up until now, I would know what the hell happened. But I don't know what happened, so. Okay, let's see. Yes, I think they and Brothers Make are in Africa right now. Excellent. Sustainable Design Studio and Brothers Make, yeah. Because Brothers Make are from the UK as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to get the cam back on. But for some reason it's not working. I'm not sure why. But yeah, I did want to lastly go over the resource checklist because it's quite important to just, this is right at the top, right in the overview. So you'll go into the 5 steps and really dig in and see all of the links, either to the community, to the discords, to plans to even build your own machinery. But this is like a nice basic thing here. Toot. Approximately 50 square meters, so that's what, 150, 200 square feet. That will be able to, as you can see, I think our space is much larger than that, but we also have multiple shredders. We've expanded over the last few years. Again, I keep thinking that I have display capture, but I do not. Let's see. Droid cam. Let's start a new one. Let's see if we can get this done. I do not know what happened, but it's okay. So 50 square meters to start. So if you're in a school, it's important that you have a designated area. I think it's also important that you have some basic ventilation. So space that either has a ventilator tube like we have that's going out a window with an extraction fan, or just some windows in the space. As well as the fume extractor. Yes, then electricity, 380 volts, 16 amps, 3 kilowatts. That is very important. These machines are going to run some serious power, and if depending on what you're buying, you might have to even create 220 power. This we'll talk about with you on the call. It's not something that you have to have a perfect knowledge of from the get-go. Actually, neither my partner or I are electricians, but my partner's been doing so much of this electrical work over the last few years that he's kind of an electrician at this point. Um, he even like we built out a nice little intake area, but just so happened that the light switch was in that area. So what he did is he wired it so that it's in front of the intake area on a nice little wall. New light switch. So basically, I'm just vouching for my partner that he'll let you know about some of the electrical specifications as well. So you don't need to be an electrician, but amateur engineer, yeah. But you know what you're doing. You know, on the level of what we're talking about here, it shouldn't be a problem for you to troubleshoot some things. But if it's too much for us to handle, then we will find people who can help you that really know what they're doing. Ideally, locally, you also know some folks. People friendly, yeah. Well, that's definitely a big part of this. You are going to be dealing with people in your community. Not every single part and every single person in your team has to, but you want to have a few people on your team that are able to go out there and engage with, you know, other cleanups and workshops and the sustainable community that already probably to a degree exists where you live. People are doing like park cleanups and things like that. The main thing that I wanted to say though is that this is always a really positive experience. So there's really nothing to be. I know we all, everybody has some level of social anxiety. I do too, which is ridiculous that I'm actually doing this streaming thing. But know that this project is really positive and everybody is going to react really positively towards you, which really lowers the level of anxiety that you may have because everyone's just going to be, bright eyes like, wow, this is so cool. How can I get involved? What can I do? So as long as you come with that kind of energy as well, it's okay if you're kind of introverted. Just, be friendly. Everyone out there is actually really friendly, the whole Precious Plastic community. So I like that they put this here, but I also have a feeling that, you know, this type of project isn't really gonna be encouraging meanies to come and join. Technical and product interest. Technical and product design knowledge might benefit you, but these are not must-haves to get going. It's true. There are different aspects of this whole project that are very designy. So if you have a designer in-house, that's amazing because you're automatically just going to be able to like burst the blocks, the walls, and just create whatever you want with it. So my partner actually went to Parsons, so I feel very lucky to have him because if I have some idea, I can actually draw something out on paper or tell him about it, and he has the expertise to go in and work on the software, for example. And then technical, yeah. Like, if you're an engineer, then you can build your own machines, but you don't have to have that level of expertise because there's a lot of people around you that do, and they can troubleshoot everything with you, and you can also just buy machinery that's almost ready right out of the box. Just takes some calibration, and in this case, you're going to have us the whole time to help you with all of that. But I think these are important little checklist points. Okay, so we've gone over the application, we've gone over the 5 steps. My camera has died for some reason, so I think we're gonna call it a wrap. I hope some people joined. I hope that this has been useful. Let me see. I'll send a couple links in chat because I will leave this on replay so that people will be able to let's see. So that people will be able to basically come back and rewatch any part of this, if it's helpful. But like I said, most of the most helpful resources are online. But I totally understand that it feels much better to talk with a live person, more informally. So that's what we're here for. So this is the US opportunity. I'm just going to throw some links. This is the Canada opportunity. And just so you see, there is no funding available for this in the United States. So they do have like IP blocks. So even if you're outside of one of the states that's allowed, you're most likely not going to be able to do an application at this point, unfortunately. So there's the links to start. I sent some links to the Discords earlier, which is always a great resource. Well, okay. Thank you everybody who has come and joined us. I really hope that this has been helpful, and I do hope that people will apply and are as excited about all of this as we are. We're available at PreciousPlastic.nyc. We also have an Instagram that you can reach out on, which is at PreciousPlasticNYC. And then there's the Discord channel. So what I would really like to do is get everybody that is going to be starting these spaces with us to come together on a Discord channel where we can share the experience together. Like, essentially the groups that are going to come out from this, we're kind of going to be a new family. So I would like to create a space where we can hold meetings and help each other out. That's more localized and very specific to what we're trying to do, rather than the giant worldwide Discord channel that has thousands upon thousands of people. I mean, that's a great resource and I encourage you to go there, but we're going to be asking every single applicant that gets approved to join our Discord so that we can hold our own little meetings and share our experiences. Every group that's starting, I think, will actually be able to help each other out in sharing different information, and you'll have us there the whole time. So you will have us individually for calls as well, but we're going to create resources that you can access that are more specific to your needs outside of the giant information giant amount of information that is available on PreciousPlastic.com. Great. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a safe rest of your week. And I hope to hear from some of you soon. Please feel free to reach out with any questions or inquiries, and stay tuned. We're hoping to expand the parameters to outside of California and New York, because we see a lot of wonderful people that could truly benefit from this opportunity. So we will keep everyone informed. We will continue posting about new opportunities and sharing everything we can. Great. Take care and have a good night. Oh, yes, Gary, thank you. Subscribe. Like and subscribe, yo. I need to start saying that in the beginning of like when we actually have viewership. That's a skill to start selling. Yes, everybody who wants to keep up with the information that we're putting out, subscribe. We're planning on streaming live fairly regularly from our studio. As you can see, there's a lot here that you can learn about. I would also really like to long-term create a kind of a community on YouTube where we're interviewing other people that are in the space, that are doing amazing, innovative things, so that we can create exposure for each other. So lots of great things happening. Please subscribe to our channel, and you'll probably get a lot of cool content coming out of us in the next 6 months. Okay. Absolutely. Just like Gary said, we're going to be doing this a lot and providing all kinds of content soon. We'll troubleshoot whatever the problem is with the camera at this point. Okay. Take care, everyone, and have a good night. Be safe.